Hello and welcome to the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. I am Jackie Tomes, and on this show we are having open and honest conversations about investing in property in a way that ultimately creates not just time but also freedom in all of its many forms. And a great example of what that really means and what we really need to make that happen is to make sure that we can perform at our best through everything that we do, so that we can get the best out of all the hours that we spend investing into our businesses. So today we've got Dom and Dave, and they are talking about how to perform at your peak by managing your own energy. A really amazing conversation about the different types of energy, how you build those rituals to recharge your energy, and why managing your state actually matters way more than managing your schedule. So without further ado, here is Dom and Dave.
Hello, Dom.
Hello, Dave, and hello to the audience, and thank you for joining us once again.
So today we are going to get nitty gritty on what it takes to get into a true state of peak performance, right? Really get down to the nuts and bolts of this thing that is performance. Obviously, this is a big area of your expertise, Dom. It's as a business coach, you are also as a kind of performance coach for everyone. You're just always looking for ways for people to perform better in their business and their lives, and all the different areas that we have to look into to make that happen. So yeah, I think I'll let you start.
Kick off. Yeah, and I guess the word performance. A lot of people get annoyed with it. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, what is performance? Everyone's trying their best the whole time, right? Actually, or often people subconsciously or consciously think that getting more done is higher performance. And they use time in particular as a reason to either stop or continue, or they're using time as a measure of their productivity, perhaps. And that's not, I would say, is not the way to look at it. Actually, I would say, because everyone has the same amount of time, right? We all have 24 hours in a day. No one's got a special time. But if you look at the people who are the highest performers, who have a happy life, they're healthy, and they've got great businesses, and they've got great relationships. That's what I would consider high performance. Those people aren't, generally speaking, they're not worrying about time in the same way that so many other people are. They've got Einstein time, which I think we've talked about several times before in the past. But the premise is this: is that managing your energy, not time, is the key to performance, which is as in being healthier and happier and having more success in your business. Because, like I mentioned, everyone's got the same amount of time. So when it comes to energy management, then what is good energy, and what are the different aspects of ourselves that we need to draw on in order to have success? And the four areas that come to mind are: one, your physical body. If you reward it with good nutrition, sorry, not reward it, you feed yourself good nutrition, you have the right amount of sleep, you have good exercise routine, meditation routine, then you will be rewarded. Your body will reward you with better energy because you're well rested and you've got the right nutrients inside you, etc. That's physical. Mental, how well trained are you at focusing? Today's society, we're so distracted. We've got our phones, we've got social media, there's the news, there's a million people trying to speak to us, there's email, there's so many things trying to grab our attention. How focused are you? And are you able to think and learn and get things done when you choose to, rather than allow yourself effectively to be distracted, which so many people are well trained at doing. So that's physical, mental, and then there's emotional. And of course, we are emotional humans. There's no getting away from the fact that we have feelings and sensing, and our emotions go up and down. They go up and down throughout the day. They go up and down depending on how much food we've eaten or not eaten, and how much rest we've had and exercise and all those things. So the emotional body that we need to consider. And also, lastly, but possibly most importantly, is also that spiritual side, which is to say, are we aligned with who we want to become? And is the work that we're doing aligned to our values and our purpose? Because you can want to perform at your best, but the fact is, if you hate your job or you hate what you're doing, then it's probably going to struggle, and you're never really going to perform at your best because it's not who you're meant to be. You're kind of pushing against what you think, like, what you think you should be doing, rather than what other people should tell you to do, rather than actually being aligned with who you truly are, and being in flow. So yeah,
Yeah.
physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Those are the four areas of energy management for performance.
That's fantastic. It just made me think, going right back to where you started, you talked about people thinking that performance is to do with the output. And I
Mm,
think this is the premise. As soon as you're kind of disillusioned by, or confused by this concept that output is performance, I think you're on the
oof,
wrong lines. And I think as the truth is, the performance is your state. It's you. You are the performer, and your true peak performance comes from you. And you've got to be in the right state, and then
mm,
output follows. But obviously, we all know in life that you put in, a load of work. You put in, especially in business, you put in a load of work. You try really hard. You do all the right stuff, but it doesn't necessarily work.
yeah,
So the output isn't necessarily representative of the input, and the input is where the magic is happening. And if you're only focusing on the output and you're not focusing on the input, I think you get really stuck. You get stagnate, and you get into the state where actually you're not able to perform very well,
mm,
because you're not thinking about all these things you've just described, like these four key areas, and you end up in a place where you can't be in peak performance. But actually, most importantly, you're not even aware that you can't be, because maybe in that case you're focusing on your time, how you're spending your time. You're
yes,
just like working really hard, trying to be really efficient, and that's it. That's all you're focusing on. But you don't realize the impact that all of those other things are having.
yeah,
They're all
yeah,
impacting it.
yeah.
So,
That's a really good insight, actually. In short, it's not about what's out there in the world around you. It's what's in here. It's who you are being, how
yeah.
you are feeling in the moment, and in a way, it's your relationship with yourself, really, isn't it?
Mm,
Because when you're happy and you have good self-esteem, and self-esteem is your relationship with yourself, then it kind of doesn't matter, because there's always, there's always good things and bad things. There's always ups and downs. But actually, if you're relatively well balanced around those different areas of physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, then you're in a better state. And yeah, as you say,
mm,
state is high performance. The
that's it.
quality of your, on average, your state of being is high performance. There we go. That's a deep one. I love it.
And I think before we go into the nuts and bolts, as I said earlier, of each area and like what we
Mm,
do to get ourselves in the right state, I think we just give some thoughts around what is it we're trying to achieve? What does it mean to be in peak performance? Like really, for me, it means you have a really almost endless energy to
yes.
attack your work, to get on with stuff. There's a kind of endless well of this motivation to get on with stuff. And actually, you sit down at the computer or whatever your job entails. Most of it is computers for most of us, but you sit down and actually you're just getting into it because you want to be there, and you're basically in a state of flow as much of the time as possible. And in essence, time stops to matter, because you're just really just in that zone,
Zone.
that magic
Yeah.
zone. And what it ends up doing is you can go for longer. What you are putting out there is more positive. It's usually quicker and more efficient as it is, because you're not getting stuck on kind of negative fears and worries. You just kind of go, but in it, not go in a stressed way. Go in a really like, and I just got that done, and I just knocked that off my list. I've just done this,
Yes.
and by the end of the day, you can look back and you can do a week's work in one day. And
Right.
that's and
Yeah.
that's nothing to do with time efficiency management. That is literally, and it might be, there might be factors of time efficiency management in there, but its truth is it comes from your state during the day and being in that
Yeah.
zone for as long as
Yes.
possible, and never getting tired and
Yeah.
grumpy, and never getting to that point where you're like, your brain gets foggy and you're just sitting over
Mm,
an email, typing away with two fingers, going,
yeah.
oh, I'm just not quite sure how to approach this one. What should I say to them? All of that goes. Fatigue disappears, and your worries
Yes.
disappear, and your sense of kind of what if disappears. Of, oh, I shouldn't do it that way. Maybe I should do it that way, and decision making becomes quicker and easier.
Yes.
This is where we want to be at all
Yeah.
times. We want to be just go, quick decisions, easy, and firing on all cylinders. And
Yeah.
that's my end result that I'm trying to achieve. What about you, Dom?
I
Anything
love
else
it.
to add?
But yeah, absolutely. I love what you just said, and that's the assumption. I think there's an underlying assumption that energy is oh, it means that I can yeah, I've got energy to do the work I want. I've got the focus,
Mm.
etc. But energy, if we think of it a bit like water, so energy, there's an amount, there's the quantity of water. So
Yeah.
it's like how much energy do you have? There's the quality of the water as well. Is it clean or is it murky? It's like the coffee I drink now. Is mycotoxin free, so it's the purity is very high. There's no toxins, and as a result, I have less brain fog. I don't have the jitters, um, and I just get quality focused energy because of this particular nutrient. And that's why people are always kind of looking at biohacking and quality
Yeah.
of food, which will impact their energy, the amount of energy they get out of that food. Um, then you've got your focus. So a bit in the water, are you spraying it everywhere because your focus keeps on jumping from other things, like ADHD, you're jumping from thing to thing to thing. Um, or is it really hyper focused and it's like, no, I'm working on this project for the next 25 minutes or for the next hour or for the next 3 weeks, or whatever it might be. How focused are you, and are you aiming it precisely, or is it a scattergun?
Yeah.
And then also, lastly, is force. So is your energy or the water, is it a nice calm stream or is it a pressurized jet? So how much effectively energy is there behind the energy in terms of your focus? So those are the things that we should think about when it comes to energy, quantity, quality, focus, and force.
Wow.
Then if you optimize each of those, then you've got good energy in that particular area. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about optimization because you're right. It's a lovely concept, and I think one that everyone dreams to have, but they don't know how to get it, and they don't also, I think, in most cases, realize where they're undermining it. So let's go through this. Let's start with the physical,
Okay.
Dom. What is
Yes.
it on a?
Okay.
It should be the easiest one. What on a physical level do people need to be doing to get to this state?
Well, okay. So, I mean, with physical and with all of them, we could start
Mm,
generally in a way, is that for every thought we have, every emotion that we have, every exertion of energy, physical energy that we have, there's a consequence, right? There's, for better or for worse, that there's sort of a high and there's a low. There's a positive, there's a negative. There's basically it's cyclical. You can't be 100% focused all of the time. It just doesn't work. You will get tired. It's like you can't be awake for for that long. You have to sleep. So we have to understand that for every energy type, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, we need to cycle in and out of um, repair, like a battery. You have to kind of charge and discharge, use the energy and recharge each of those
yeah,
areas. So that's it. So it's not about the quality, the amount of time necessary we're putting into something. It's actually more about the quality of the energy that we're putting in. And so we have to build that capacity for the energy, whether it's in spiritual, emotional, etc. We need to build it through practice. And that's why we can get better at exercise. We can get better at focusing on the work that we're doing. We can get better at regulating our emotional body.
yeah.
And we can remind ourselves, to be more spiritually aligned by taking time out and choosing, not effectively not to think, practicing getting into different brainwave states that we've talked about before. So yeah, we need to have these effectively rituals around
Yeah.
each of these four areas in order to cycle in and out of using it and recharging it. So
Brilliant.
what are your thoughts there then on, well, you pick whichever one you want. Um, but what do you do around, say, emotions, for example, or spiritual? Pick one, and let's compare and let's see if the audience can also get some insights on how they might be able to better balance their energy expenditure and recovery.
Okay, so on an emotional side, and you're right, it's very linked to spiritual for me because I actually use the spiritual
Yeah.
side to support the emotional. It's like for me,
Mm,
without spiritual, my emotions are much more volatile, and it's like a much harder energy to manage.
yeah.
So it's almost like encompassing it with a kind of spiritual concepts and spiritual ideas helps me to rein that in and really calm it down and give me the detachment from what's going on physically in my body emotionally, the chemicals and the feelings it invokes, gives me that detachment from it through spiritual concepts. Just say, oh, why am I feeling this? Oh, what should I be doing about it? Actually, is that a good thing or a bad thing for me? And actually then calm myself down and get into a much better state. So I'd say they almost work in tandem. But if we just take the emotions all on their own, emotions are impacted by either my own thoughts about something that's happening, or from an external thing that is happening to me at that time or has just happened to me. So these two things is either the internal thought or the external thing. And in both cases, the emotion is purely caused by my judgment of the situation. So I have a situation that is happening in life and I am judging it. And it's that judgment that is in nearly all cases the thing that causes a negative emotional reaction. And in most, I'd say in all cases, I don't want a negative emotional reaction, because that's, for me, an energy drain. That's something that's going to make me feel more low on energy. It's going to be making me less able to focus, more distracted by it, and just generally not motivated. So I want to be in a more positive emotional state to get into my peak performance mode, something that's really going to help drive me and create that force. So I'm looking at my emotions and I'm saying, what am I feeling at any one time, and what's caused that feeling? So a really good example would be when you have just negative judgmental thoughts about someone else. So something's just happened, someone's just done something really annoying, whatever it is, some mentee has just really annoyed me. You have that thought, and or you've just had a valuer downvalue something, and you have that thought, that thing that kind of starts to going, this is really bad, I'm really pissed off at this person. And now we've started that thought process that is going to create the emotional reaction. So for me, the most important thing on the emotional side is to have loads of little tools and techniques to become, firstly, aware that I'm starting that spiral down and trying to catch it as soon as possible. So it's about catching yourself before it gets too powerful. So start aware of the thought, and then as soon as you become aware that there is a negative thought, it's a reframing. And we've talked about this in other ones, how, different techniques, other podcasts, different techniques and methods of reframing that thought or this situation, whatever it might be, and saying, no, I don't need to think like that about it. I can take a different viewpoint. And that's where I find the spiritual really helps, because I'm able to use every spiritual concept under the sun that is actually really positive, really lovely, and use it to help me reframe and find a much better perspective that immediately brings me back out of that emotional negative spiral. So I would say that's a really key one for me, is the awareness of the thoughts going on, the impact they're having, and the judgment that they might be, the judgment I'm bringing to play, and then an immediate technique to reframe it. And that could be something I'm doing with Jackie. I might just start saying I'm getting really frustrated, or realize that I'm getting really frustrated. I'd start talking to Jackie about it, and it's just as soon as I start talking to Jackie about it, that's when I become aware that I'm in this zone. It's starting the spiral that needs to be reframed. And sometimes it's really hard. And actually just talking it out with Jackie, because she's on the same page and she understands this as well. So I've got that partner who wants me to spiral back up and will help me to reframe and find a new position. So sometimes it's not me just doing it in my head like some angel. Sometimes I need that help. I need the partner who's not in that spiral heading downwards to just go, no, Dave, don't worry. There's another way of looking at this. And
well, and you're so right, because we so do need a good partner or friend or empathetic witness, whether it's counselor, a coach, mentor, someone else to talk to get that clarity of thought, to get perspective, and therefore be able to manage the emotions. So that makes a lot of sense. So one is talking to Jackie, and kind of two, you kind of sort of alluded to it there, is sort of taking time out and effectively meditating. Is that what you
because then that's the meditation would be the way of approaching it if I didn't have Jackie, for example, and that in the moment would be the sit down and just calm the emotion and just put away what I'm doing and really dive into a more calm state of being and look at the thought process and the emotion from a distant perspective. So as distant as I can make myself from it. To be fair, though, I would find that most of the time I use my meditation as a foundational setup on an emotional state. So I start each day with my meditations because it gets me started from a higher emotional state. So obviously it's a resilience thing. The more battered we are by life, and the more battered we are by whatever's going on in the business by from other people, you kind of
Mm,
slowly lose your resilience, and then
yeah.
smaller things start to affect you, and then actually you can get really burnt out from it. So for me, the meditation is a raising of that bar every morning, give myself to a really calm state, really bring my awareness back to the bigger reasons for everything, and I raise my emotional state so that I've got more resilience to cover the day, so that
Yes.
I'm in a better state through the whole day. So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
primary use of meditation, would be that.
Mhm.
But yes, you're right. If I get something really bad that I can't think my way through, I will meditate my way through it. A
Right.
bad thought
Yes.
or a bad judgment,
Yes. Yeah. That makes me think. I always remember hearing that or reading somewhere that some of the most intelligent people in the world, they don't worry about not knowing the answer to something because they know that if they just ask themselves the question and they go to sleep on it, the answer will come to them at some point,
Mm,
either from memory or from something. The reticular activating system will find the answer, or they go and research the answer. They'll find it. Basically, they're not worried about not knowing. And I thought
yes.
that's a great way to live. It's like, oh well, I don't know, but it'll find it because the brain does
Yeah.
that, and it's a goal-seeking or an answer-seeking organism. So yes, okay. So you've alluded to, or not alluded to, you said Jackie, or having a good partner, someone to speak to, um, meditation. But in particular, you've also mentioned effectively the third one, which is a really good one, and this is what I encourage people to do, is have a really strong morning routine. Because that
Mm,
sets you up for the day. So having a ritual where you're deliberately taking time out before the day starts, in a way, to allow yourself to get calm and get clear effectively on the day ahead. Um, you know, maybe listening to an inspirational audiobook or something that's a good ritual that allows you to be prepared both mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, because they're not separate.
yeah.
They are all together. They all impact each other. So if you've got a good morning routine of meditation, but also maybe exercise, hydration, after the night before you slept, and you naturally release a whole load of or lose a whole load of moisture. So having a glass of water, that's what I do first thing in the morning. A nice coffee, meditation, some exercise, even if it's just 5 minutes, some fresh air, sun on my skin, whatever supplements, if I'm taking any at that time, is a nice way to start the day, and it just energizes you so you're ready to hit the day and make it
Yeah.
a successful one,
I think
rather than
that
being reactive.
that brings in a few of the physical factors you've just brought there, which is, like you said, it's all connected. So Jackie and I do every morning have a coffee walk. We do a coffee walk, ideally to somewhere like where we are at the moment. We're in Margate right now, which is lovely. Rare that we're here, but we're here at the moment,
Wow.
and we are walking every day to the sea. So we just try and make a walk to somewhere that we know we're going to enjoy the inspiration of
Yes.
looking at, something that opens our minds a bit more, something that's beautiful if possible, and a lot of nature wherever possible.
Yeah.
We do a morning coffee walk, and the coffee we use is bulletproof coffees, which we've talked about as
Yes.
well before, because that for us is a very clear setup of physical energy that we know
Yeah.
is going to keep us going really cleanly to middle of the day. So we have our bulletproof coffee then, and we do our walk, and that means we get in the fresh air, and we talk about inspiring things or things that we want to overcome in the business from a what it's stuff that you can't get answers to when you're in the nitty gritty of working, when you're
Mm.
just trying to do your day job and some problem comes your way, and you can't. It's so hard to come up with a solution. So we save it all for those walks, and we're just like, oh, I've got this thing.
Yeah.
What do you reckon we should do about that? And it's like, we just make such great decisions on that walk because we're in the best state. And
Yeah.
usually we'll do it with either a meditation just before or just afterwards. The meditation doesn't have to be before, but it's going to
Okay.
be in the same zone as the meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's literally sets us up for the day. Jackie, I sometimes do yoga. That's my
Okay.
physical doing, but Jackie does weights and other
Nice.
squats. I don't know.
You got space to do yoga in the van?
No, this is when it's sunny and outside, but we do have
Okay.
space for a certain amount in the van, to be fair. But yeah, and you're right, that I get more frustrated when I'm in the UK than when I'm in other countries, because when I'm in other countries, and nearly all countries we stay in, we have extra hours because we're ahead. So I
Yes.
don't have to start meetings until 9 o'clock, 9:30,
Yeah.
depending on the schedule. And oh my gosh, even that 1 hour makes a big difference. If we were in the UK all the time, we would push our schedule back for sure
Right.
to start at 10:30. Because if I'm
Wow.
starting at 10:30, I usually set the alarm for 6:30, get up somewhere 6:37. I just need enough hours to feel calm, feel like
Yeah.
it's no stress to get through the whole morning routine, so that I start, when I do start the meetings, I've just
Yeah.
really done everything I want. And that includes usually reading some inspirational book, having my coffee, the walk, a little bit of exercise of some sort, and then meditate. And I don't want any of that to be rushed. So when I come to
Yes.
work, it's like, oh, great! I've had my morning. I'm ready, and I
Yeah.
find that quite hard to do before 9 o'clock. I'm not gonna lie. So
I think you've indirectly promoted the 5 a.m. club. If you start earlier, which you could naturally if you were on the continent rather than in the UK, then actually you have more time to get a
that's
really
true.
good setup for the day. Now,
That
so
is
we talked
true.
about setup for the day. We talked about talking and doing things with others, maybe meditating even with others and going for a walk with others to talk about things. Um, One of the emotional rituals that I've discovered and I find works quite well is when you've had an important meeting, a high stakes meeting, it's really good to step away from the laptop for a while
Mm,
and just take a 5 minute walk and maybe even do some breath work, some Wim Hof type breathing or the box breathing, just to basically become more present and let go of the energetic interaction that just happened, whether it's with a client in person or just over the laptop. But just clearing your mind of what
yeah.
just happened helps you be refocused. And this is the key, isn't it? Because it's about energy renewal, right? So you need to be focused on the meeting and then step away and do something completely different, like, I don't know, drawing, a piece of art, a bit of gardening, something that is going to use your right brain effectively rather than your intellectual left brain of having conversations and thinking about answers and solutions to stuff. So that's a good little ritual effectively to do during the day, even if it takes just 5 minutes to step away and effectively recharge a little bit before you come back and do another meeting. Is that something
It's,
you do during the day at all?
I I do. But to be honest with you, I'm probably the worst person at taking little breaks during the day. But it's because of my nature is just to sit down and go.
Yeah.
But um, I really like, that's one of my what's the word? One of my flaws, is the word. One of my flaws is just to get going and just go 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 and never stop
Yes.
and never break. And Jackie's always has to save my life by bringing me water, because otherwise I wouldn't drink and I would die. But internally, like, if you can make it work, and I do very occasionally make it happen, Jackie does. We set up a process where we have 25-minute calls rather than half-hour calls, or 55-minute calls rather than 60-minute calls, with the 5-minute break built in. And if you
Yeah.
can be disciplined with that and actually finish on time, which is that I really struggle with. But if you can, it is a
God.
great little technique to build those 5 minutes in. Jackie manages it really well, and
Yes. Yes.
I'm not very good at that. So, but I would say if I have just had a big investor meeting or a big important meeting of some sort, I will need
Yeah.
to go and have a decompress. Just, you're right, for the same reason. Just that will be one of the few things that forces me out.
Yes.
And again,
Yes.
I will often help myself. Yeah, I just kind of I will get outside off the back of something like
Yes.
that, if I
Yeah.
can at all.
Nice. That's good. And that kind of leads us a little bit into referencing human design because everyone has, well, not everyone, but people have different energy types.
Yeah.
And so, just a summary for the people who haven't yet heard the human design episode of our podcast, but there's the majority, which is to say 70% of the world. Like you and I, Dave, we are manifesting generators. And then that's 35%. And then the other 35% is generators. And these people have their own battery. They can keep going on something that they love to do. And for us as many gens, as they're called, we're quite good at chopping and changing and working relatively fast. And we like variety, and we like to keep going effectively. Jackie is one of 8% of the population who are manifestors, and they don't have their own effectively energy center to keep going, and they need to. But they can start with a blank page. They can start with nothing and create something amazing, but they burn out quite quickly because it's they haven't got this energy engine effectively that we have. So they need to be around others to kind of almost borrow energy from them. But they will burn out more quickly, and therefore they need to take more rest in order to recharge better. Same with projectors, which is about 21% of the population. So they don't have their own energy source either, and they need to. They work very efficiently in a short space of time, but they will need longer recovery than the majority. So understanding your energy type is a really useful one to help you again manage this, your performance, to understand how you can perform personally better than you were before. We've mentioned before, spiritual, emotional, physical, but the understanding human design takes it to another level, which is very useful to understand as well.
Yeah,
Okay, so sorry, go on.
I was just going to say that I know Jackie talked about it, but it made such a huge difference to her learning that about herself, and she changed her entire routine off of it, and she's so much
Yes,
better because of it. So
yes,
it's integral, really key.
yes. It really is. And also, if you're an entrepreneur or you're trying to run your own business, actually knowing the people around you and what types they are makes a world of difference. Because I
Yeah,
know that I work better with the likes of Jackie, who is there to create an impact and to make bold decisions. And as a supporter profile in human design, sorry, not human design, in wealth dynamics, I also know that I work better with certain people who are great leaders. And as a result, I'll achieve more because I'm working with someone who's able to
yeah,
create that leadership. Um, Rather than me feeling like, oh, I really have to lead myself and do it all on my own. Actually, I don't. Actually, I'll work better with others, like a projector or a manifester who are designed in a way to lead. It's not to say that we can't. We absolutely can. It's just that we could optimize our success and our fulfillment and our energy as well by working with other people if we know our energy type well. So yeah. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to also say is, okay, so we talked about spiritual in
yeah.
particular with the meditation, and emotional through sharing with partners and talking about it with mentors and coaches and things like that. Um, Physical is kind of obvious. It's exercise, and we need to strain our bodies, do some yoga, go for a run, go to the gym, Pilates, whatever it is, something physical where we're getting out of breath.
Yeah.
And ideally exercising the body. That's kind of a little bit more obvious than some of the others. One of the others that I think people maybe are aware of, but not or know about, but they're not necessarily quite so aware of it, is the mental recharging. And you said,
Mm.
you're pretty good at going through the day, and if Jackie didn't bring you water, then you probably just keep going until you fall over. But talk to me about time blocking for mental focus.
Okay. I feel like I see this most in the distraction thing. Okay. So if you are just constantly at the behest of your phone, your WhatsApps, your emails, and
Yeah,
all you're doing is responding, you're just
yeah,
reacting to what the world throws at you, it automatically puts you into a state of stress, and it
mm,
automatically diminishes your performance. Like, even though it's something
disempowers.
that quite a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people are, can be in their flow doing lots of different things, right? There's kind of feeling of like, I always want variety, lots of different things, do lots of little things. And the problem is that can often lead you down the path of therefore just constantly checking your WhatsApps and then responding to that and then check your emails and then respond to that. Problem with this is that you are never able to fully engage. You are
Yeah,
not able to fully engage and get to the most important tasks that are going to drive your business forward. So as a
mm,
business owner, it is a business killer, it's a stagnator of businesses because you end up firefighting and reacting to everyone else and everything else under the sun rather than getting on with the primary crap that is actually going to make an impact, that's going to push the needle on your business. So that, I think, it puts you into this mode where you can't actually get perspective anymore because you've brought your mental state too low and you're too in it. And we all know that feeling. You can't see the wood for the trees. You can't
yeah,
decide. You can't prioritize anymore. You're just like, I need to do this. I need to do that. I've got all these people that are asking stuff of me. I need to get these emails answered. And actually, you've lost it. you've lost sight of why you're doing it. You've lost sight of everything that is important. You're just, most of the time, both appeasing and pleasing others because they need stuff. So you're just doing it for them, and appeasing your own inner sense of what makes you feel, proactive and like makes you feel like you're busy. It's very hard to put it down and say, no, I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to work for an hour on this thing that is actually really important to me, like a new process or setting up something, or going to get my system going, or whatever it might be, a new training for your team member. This, I think, is the most important mental thing you can do, because if you can get the willpower to overcome this, and actually, and the time blocking, time blocking comes in, is that you are, by using time blocking, you give yourself the chance to have willpower. So you put in a time block for doing certain things, and you say to yourself, I'm not going to do anything else in that time. I'm going to do this thing in that time, whatever it might be. If you don't put the time block in, it's much harder, because you just constantly respond and you just never get round to it. And that's where people get stuck. And we actually have it in our business with our team, where we started to, say, what are meeting days? What days of the week are you going to do meetings on certain things, so that you have days where you don't have meetings, so that you can be free to use your own time in a flexible fashion. We're also starting to implement with team members hours of non-WhatsApp or Teams responding. And this is a new one for us, because we've realized that it's almost impossible to enforce this on people. So in terms of impossible, in terms of getting them to buy into it and do it. So therefore, the only way to do it is to fully enforce it, and to actually say, okay, look, I know you've got WhatsApps to respond to, so you're allowed to do it 9 till 11 on a Monday morning. And then I don't want to see a single response for the next 5 hours, because that's the only way I know that you are going to not be in this reactive mode. So it's management of your team to the point of enabling them to have more of this mental discipline by putting measures in place, and doing it in such a way that makes sure they're going to be able to, if someone needs to be reacting to stuff, like what hours are they reacting, what works for their role in the business. Because some people might need a double check 3 times a day. Some people only need once a day, depending on their role. So this is where we're getting to, where we're saying, okay, so how can we get the whole team in this state and stop them from basically self-sabotaging in a mental way and ending up overwhelmed and stressed just because they're not following these disciplined methods that we teach. But if they don't do it, that's it. They're going to be stressed and overwhelmed.
Quite. So using your digital environment to be a forcing function to allow you to not have to respond the whole time, so that you can focus on the work you need to get done rather than be reactive. And I think this is a character trait of successful entrepreneurs and the people who are listening now, is that if you want to be successful, in short, you've got to be creators and not consumers. Most people are consuming social media, they're consuming all the products and Amazon and everything else. Actually, if you want to, effectively build a business, you have to be creating it the whole time and improving it, like you and Jackie do, which is always amazing. It's like, what other tweaks can we make to make our team more productive, to make our environment better, so that we've got more energy to focus on the things that allow us to enjoy life even more, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, all those things. So using environment, particularly your digital environment, to create forcing functions, it sounds like is you're doing with your team.
Definitely. And I guess similarly, talking about the mental side, another podcast episode about headspace and just being aware of that. So just if our headspace is so cluttered with everything, and this is exactly why, because of your WhatsApps and your emails and everything you're doing. So have a listen to that podcast as well, because it's really good ideas about like what this thing is, this headspace, and how we got to clear it. It's all similar stuff, but just getting another angle on it. But that is so important, to treat your mental approach to energy as like basically what you were saying at the beginning. The more messy your head is, the more chaos going on, the less energy you have, because you don't have enough focus to it. There's not enough clarity to it. Or your water analogy, you've basically got dirty, murky water with loads of crap in it. And you're not going to be able to shoot it fast through the pipes, because it's full of all this crap that's getting stuck. So that's what messy headspace is. So we want to clear all that out. We want to have just pure water that is really powerful. Get rid of all that crap from it. And so, yeah, have a listening to that. I think that's a big mental one. And part of the process is, and we've spoken about human design, but getting to know your wealth dynamics profile, getting to know how your brain works. How does your personality profile work? Because in theory, depending on who you are, you're going to have different tools you're going to need. There's no one size fits all. In this, you've got to understand what drives you and what is likely going to be sabotaging you in your profile, and really gets true clarity on that. Again, that's why we do so many episodes on things like wealth dynamics and all the different types and human design, because as far as we're concerned, if you can get to the bottom of yourself in terms of what's driving and sabotaging you, you can optimize. You can optimize yourself, and this, this is it. If your mental space is exactly the same. How does your brain work is key to you being able to then work with it and make sure it's not getting overwhelmed and not getting stressed and all of these bad things.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I was just about to ask you to summarize, so you've done that really nicely. So it's all of this, everything that we're doing, this whole podcast is all about it's all about performing at your best. But this time we've summarized it into mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. And we know that it's not about time, it's about energy management. The better we manage our energy through rituals, morning routine, evening routine, ways of being throughout the day, so that you're able to disengage from work and re-engage fully, and give yourself time blocks on when you're doing things and not get distracted by all the reactive things we could be doing in business, and making sure that we're aligning those daily rituals and daily habits with your long-term purpose. That's where your performance really excels.
Thank you so much for joining us on the latest episode of the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. I hope that's got you thinking with a different perspective about energy versus time, and how you ultimately manage what you're doing to get more out of every day, and therefore ultimately create more time and therefore more freedom for yourself. This time next week, I'm going to be joined by Stacey Rochelle, who has been an amazing support to both myself and Dave really over the last 10 years, not just from a physical perspective, as she's a chiropractor, but also on so many deeper levels. And we're going to be talking about the insights that Stacey has had from working very closely with a number of our tribe. So what business owners and property investors in particular, what are the themes that we particularly struggle with, and how can we overcome them in order to live our best lives and get the best case of freedom out of everything that we're doing. So a fantastic conversation that I can't wait to share with you. Until then, have a great week ahead.